Hello guys, welcome to Let's Talk Stupid. I'm Compound.
And I'm Proud, and today we are on some light topic.
We have talked about some serious topics before, like gambling, lying, and all those stuff. So today we want to be a little creative, a little crazy. We want to go on.
Mythical creatures.
That's right. So, Proud, can you tell me what the scariest mythical creature to you? No, not mythical. Any creature that appears to be the scariest to you looks like.
Well, this might be a bit subjective, but I think that it will be like a shapeshifter, so it can change its shape. And let me give you a little bit of the backstory so that it might be a little bit scarier. So this shapeshifter might be an alien that got into the world by a meteorite, and so when it comes to the world, it learned how to behave, or it learns about the world within days or something. It's able to understand all the languages of the animal and people, and unfortunately it found you and it got interested in you, and so it shapeshifted into you and ruined your life. And no one believes you that this creature exists, because it only turns into you when you're not in the same room as it. So there's no two of you in the same place, but in a different place with different setting, people might encounter you and believe that it was you.
Oh my god, that almost sounds like a movie that I have just watched, but it doesn't sound exactly like that movie. It's like there's a creature that turned into you after you have talked to them or do something to them. They'll turn into you and they'll hunt you, but they do not do that in a normal way. They walk. They follow you by walking, only by walking.
I've heard of that movie. What's it called? I've heard of something similar to that.
I can't remember, but if I can remember that, I'll put the link in the description in case anybody wants to see that. Okay, so that's it to Proud's scary shapeshifter. For me, I mean, the scariest thing would smell really bad, because I really have problem with smells. If something smells bad, then it's definitely not good. And this special something sounds like a good thing, but it's actually not. This special creature, I imagine that it can lay eggs everywhere, and it's very gross. Like, the egg smells really gross, and the eggs can hatch really fast. It can reproduce really, really fast. It feeds on human flesh, sort of that thing. It had a really horrible insect-like face. I mean, every horrible creature, at least, comes from the appearance of insects, right? I don't know why people have so many problems with insects, but I have too. So yeah, I guess it's our primal fear with insects. We're very afraid of it, and so do I.
Okay, I actually have another creature, but the story is quite disturbing. So if you want to skip this part, you definitely can. We have a timestamp down below for you. So the reason why this creature is especially scary, because firstly, it exists. It is true. It exists in this world, and you might encounter it someday in the future, or you might have already encountered it. Secondly, it is an insect, and it is related to worm. And if you don't know me, I hate worms. It's the grossest thing on earth to me, though. And thirdly, it involves with the idea of another animal growing inside of you. Okay, so there is a species of fly called botfly. It's very well known though. I know that there are other species that have these characteristics as well, but botflies are the most well known, and this is the exact word from Wikipedia. Their larvae are internal parasites of mammals, some species growing in the host flesh and others within the gut. Botflies deposit eggs on a host or sometimes use an intermediate vector such as the common housefly and mosquitoes.
That sounds really bad. Like, in fact, this fly is very well known for people who like to see creepy things. It's everywhere on the internet for sometimes. I think it's very scary. But another creature that ought to be brought up if we talk about this fly is a worm. I'm not sure whether what its exact name is, but it has become one of the Chinese herbs, Chinese remedies, called tang shao. And, I think it is generally called by people the zombie's worm because, but it's not actually the worm itself is not a zombie, but the bacteria, no, the fungi that grows from it makes the worm a zombie. So the thing that happens is that the bacteria, the spore of the fungi get into the worm's body when it's still a baby, and then when the worms grow, the fungi also grows with it. Um,
Oh, Tang Shao in English is cordyceps.
oh, cordyceps. I see. Thank you. So the cordyceps. So, but the fungi that grows from the baby becomes like a mushroom, and people think that it would be a good idea to eat the whole fungi and the dead corpse.
What an idea. And actually, another like parasitic or mind controlling story of an insect. Like, have you heard of like malaria or plasmodium? It is the protist that will, when it's in the mosquito, it will like control the mosquito's behavior, so that usually like mosquitoes don't typically go near human if they're not like hungry, right? But because if they go near human, they will have less chance of surviving and more chance of like getting hit or getting slapped. So like usually they will not want to be like around human that much. But for plasmodium, it will change the mosquitoes' behavior so that they will want to be around human more. Therefore, like more chance of like uh, transmitting the human.
I see. Oh, I don't know that before. This the true reason why mosquitoes are always around me? Because malarias are always around me. Right.
Not sure. I'm not sure if it's like malaria or dengue fever, but yeah, something along that line.
See. So now let's talk about the real mythical creature. Like, the most cliche mythical creature ever, it's gotta be dragons, right? You can see it literally in every single fantasy
Yeah,
movies.
it's everywhere. And the funny thing was that when I was like 6, I googled whether like dragons are real because I see it everywhere. Like I was like, is it real?
Well, today let's see whether it is real or not, and how real can it actually be if we want it to be. So, actually, there's like a dragon, right? An actual dragon called Komodo dragon. But it looks, for me as a child, when I heard of this name at the first place, I thought it's gonna look like a typical fancy dragon. But I looked it up on Google, and it's really disappointing. It's just a really, really big lizard. I'm sorry, Komodo dragon, but you're cute and everything, but you're just not the dragon I want. Hashtag not my dragon. And yeah, exactly that. But let's talk about, like, if we were to make a real dragon, what would we need in order to synthesize such creature?
Well, if you're speaking in the future, we don't need to like breed a bunch of species together. We have technologies like VR, AR, mixed reality. We can just create them using computer programs, and then, uh, you know, um, virtual reality or VR that I've said, it's like you put yourself in an alternative reality. You're minor comparing to like the reality, while like augmented reality are something smaller, but it fits in our world. Sort of. That's my explanation though. And if you're able to like create dragon, it's easy when you use like these technologies. But I get it that you mean like what will it takes to physically make a dragon, right?
Yeah, but I think that's a good idea as well to make it in VR or trying to make a robot that looks like a dragon, because like you've mentioned before, there's like bot fight, right? So you want to make your robots look intimidating and strong. Maybe try to make it like a dragon. It's an interesting idea. Also, it would be interesting as well to imagine what it would be, what it would take if we want to create a real physical dragon. So the characteristic of a dragon is like it needs to breathe fire, right? Is that the same general idea, or do dragons breathe ice as well?
I don't. I well, it's most well known for like its flame,
Okay.
but but biologically, I don't think that's sustainable. Like you can burn your own cells.
Yeah, exactly. So there's like a creature that can splash out acid that is so fire-like because it's very hot. It's higher than boiling point.
Oh.
It spreads like a gas liquid substance out of its body. It's called a bombardier beetle, and it actually really hurt when you got stung by it. I hope not, because it doesn't live in Thailand. So yeah, congratulations us. But in order to make something breathe fire, like technically breathe fire, because breathing acid is lame, right? Breathing acid is so out. So in order to make something breathe fire, we need to complete a circle of fire. No, not a circle, a triangle of fire. No, this name sounds really cool.
Yeah.
So can you tell me what the triangle of fire is?
Well, you need like oxygen, you need fuel, and you need like a spark or something to like start the fire.
Yeah,
right?
a heat. So oxygen is no problems because oxygen exists everywhere on Earth's surface, right? It's very easy, but I think that in order to release the large amount of oxygen in the time it needs, you need a third lung. So, and third lung is not really new. A lot of animals have third lungs. So, yeah, I think that's the easy part. But the problem is,
But also like, I think that it also needs some like air sacs, like birds. Birds typically have air sacs, and I don't think that dragons will be able to like be that heavy. Like the bone structure have to be sort of light.
I think so, because dragon need to fly as well, right? So it needs air sac. It need a body suitable for flying. But also, back about breathing fire, fuel. I think it's pretty easy because human has already done it. Human can breathe fire, right? You saw it in the circus and everywhere. So maybe we can modify a gland that release oil outside of animals' mouth when you wanted to breathe fire.
And then how do you think like this dragon will produce heat or spark?
I think it's pretty possible if it used some of its energy, to generate heat, because we use energy to generate heat all the time. We just generate constant heat, not that kind of like sudden heat. But I think that heat might not be the most difficult part. The most difficult part is heat-resistant oral cavity.
Yeah, definitely. Like if you think like how are you supposed to protect the gland that create or release the oil from burning?
But it's very possible that if you make dragon breathe fire out of its mouth, the fire doesn't come directly from its mouth, but out of its mouth, exactly because human can breathe fire and human doesn't swallow fire or doesn't breathe from their own mouth. They breathe outside of the mouth, right?
That's a nice argument.
But you need to splash oil, like splash oil really far, not like no oil will be in your mouth.
But but it's different in that, like, for human, the flame is like external.
Yeah.
So maybe like the spark or the heat may come from like the tip of its finger or something, so it can like.
Oh, that's cool. It's like a dragon, but the dragon always do this. Oh, you guys cannot see it. The dragon always do the shush thing. Shush.
That would be hilarious.
But it would be cute, right? The dragon would look. So the point is, I don't think if mythical creatures actually exist from genetical modification, I don't think it will be something really cool that dominates the human species. It will most likely to end up in a circus or a freak show, which is pretty sad.
Yeah, and like the possibility is very low, like because evolution doesn't create something that is the best. It's something that can survive. It's just okay-ish. Yeah.
Well, but I don't think these creatures also okay. They're like so out because a lot of things need to be modified, right? So it makes, for example, the dragons. I think that if you need a fire-breathing organ, third lungs, and a lot of things, it's very hard to make it fly unless you modify like a mechanical wings to its body. Like it is almost impossible.
So that's when like humans intervene.
Human like intervene at the first place. Like they genetically, if we were to genetically modify this creation, it is intervened from the moment it was born.
Did you know that like we actually did some funny things like that to dogs and cats? We domesticated them, and we sort of like select which breed can go on. So some traits that dogs have today actually came from human. Like dogs these days usually have like soft ears, and it's the indication of like young puppy. So because younger puppy are more appealing to human, they're more playful, they're more curious, people tend to like breed dogs that have like longer fun playing time. So that's why like most dogs today will have soft ears, while like wolves, like grown up wolves, will have like very stiff ears, and they are not playful at all.
I see. You know, the people who found out about this, I'm not sure which nationalities are they, were they, because they're dead. But the Russians found out about this theory of domestication, and they were like, how about we domesticated something else as a legacy to our descendants? And imagine if you're a Russian, what would you domesticate? You're in a land full of bears, wolves, bears, most importantly, the thing that we saw Putin write. We have a lot of things.
Really?
It's an edited photo. We have a lot of things in Russian, right? In Russia. So what would you domesticate if it was you?
I genuinely don't know. Well, when you start speaking about like domesticating something else, I thought of like a human or something.
Oh, yeah. It may sound likely, but it's not. So the animals that the Russians domesticated is fox. Actually, it's not done yet, so we can say the Russians have been domesticating. So they have been domesticating fox and sending fox around the world. Yeah.
I've heard of that story. Why couldn't I think of it? But I didn't know that it was the Russian.
yeah, it was the Russian who begins, and the first person to domesticate it was a professor, and he died, but he left a log to his underlings, his undergrads, and his undergrads continue to do the projects. And still, nowadays they're still continuing to do like selective reproduction or selective breeding. No, reproduction is the fox part.
And I've heard of like, but the fox will not be anything like domesticated fox will not be anything like dogs though. Like I've heard that they're more like still vicious and they look physically different.
I think humans and dogs like go way back. Like it will never be the same because the time gap is too big. But maybe one day we're dead.
Well, like dogs from all over the world are the same species, but you can see how different Chihuahua and Pit Bull or Rottweiler are so different. They can technically have like puppies, but because the size and their physical appearance are so different, they may not be able to do so, even though like they're the same species.
Oh my god, I've not known that before. It's interesting. So, yeah, enough about domestication. Let's go back to real mythical creature. So another cliche mythical creature is unicorn, right? The biggest problem with unicorns is that you need to make a horse fly. It's technically impossible unless you attach a jetpack into its body. The horse can't really fly.
I don't really understand why like people in the ancient times are so desperate for like everything to fly. Like human has to be able to fly, horse has to be able to fly, like lizard has to be able to fly.
I think it's pretty simple why, because wings look majestic, right? And horse also looks majestic, so why don't combine them together and get an extra fancy creature? I mean, the biggest problem with horse is that normal aerodynamic stuff, that it's not a very arrow shape. Like an arrow shape needs to be flat and allows winds to slide through them so they don't face a lot of wind resistance, right? So the horse and its general shape doesn't qualify at the first place. But in order to make it actually fly, you need to flatten the horse, make it large, and I think that will look horrible. I think it will look nightmarish.
Yeah, and well, actually, I've heard like unicorn is like actually defined by its what do you call its horn.
Oh, really? So that's easy.
Like there are some like types of unicorn that doesn't have wings, and like the one with wings is probably well known. Like it's called Pegasus, right? I don't know.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. But if it's horn, then it's easy, right? You just only implant the horn.
Yeah, just like grow something out. Like, have you heard? I don't know what it's called, but it's a mammal, like that lives in the sea that have like a horn.
A narwhal.
Yeah, exactly.
But actually, you can just find a stem cell of any animals that have horns whatsoever and plant it on a unicorn's head. But I think it will be very painful for a horse to have that horn.
That's sad. And well, did you know that like the deers, what do you call throng or something? Like they like actually shed their thong like sometimes, like literally physically like remove
Oh my god. Like a lizard tail.
Like, and I've heard, I'm not sure how, but yeah, I should do research more on that, but it's quite interesting. And I've heard that they usually like rub their thong thing to the tree because there are dead skins on there. Like, so that's why like you can see like some male deer will do like a scratchy scratch with a tree.
Oh yeah, I thought they do that for fun. I'm wrong all this time.
Nope. I'm not sure why, but probably because like maybe itchy. I'm just kidding though.
Well, I mean, talking about growing new stuff from old stuff, we need to think of a very generic, no, not generic, it's actually pretty awesome. Hydra, right? We have like Hydra in real life, which is also, for me, very disappointing, very different from Hydra in mythology, right? But I'd like to explore the idea of Hydra. So you cut its head and it grows 3 heads out of its lost head, right? So I think that's pretty much, if we want to say it, impossible. Because in order to grow a head, you need to grow a brain, an eye. You don't want to grow a brainless head, right? Just a decoy head, just a slob of meat out of those lost cut. But in order to grow a brain in a very quick time, it's really, really hard. And I think it will be a problem as well for Hydras if it has a lot of brains inside its own body. It will be like a separate entity within the same body, which I think that is quite something possible if you want to make a separate entity within one body. But it will be very scary.
Within one body.
Yeah, kind of like Fat Siam. Kind of like Siamese twins, but when you cut one, you grow more.
That's scary. I've heard of like a particular story of a conjoined twin that they joined by like the tip of their head, so they share some part of the brain, and they're from Egypt, and luckily they got like separated some years ago, and the scientists and the doctors were concerned whether like because they used to live together, some part of the brain are connected, and one of the twin will control like the right side of like the limbs and the other will control the left limbs. So they were afraid whether like these kids will be able to live separately, but luckily they like scanned their brains and found out that they are like the brain is like generating some pattern that will control the other part that belongs to like the other twin.
Oh, so those kids can live like a normal person.
Sort of, they believe so. Like there is this tendency, like it's positive that they could like they could live individually.
That's really fortunate. But okay, so I'm not talking about how like, but in Hydra's case, I think it would be impossible to create a creature that big and a very fast generating tissue. I mean, yeah. But you can definitely destroy modern day Hydra with acid.
Okay. Oh, I have like so earlier we talked about like the scariest monster we could come up with for us, right? And well, what about the thing that is universally scared of? What do you think
Clown?
it is?
Well, the statistics say Americans are afraid of clowns, and also election. That one's a joke.
I'm also afraid of clouds. Like crown, blah blah that clown.
Okay.
Okay, so like I'm speaking of like a thing that is like, well, for every single human, like everyone without any exception will be afraid of.
Death?
Well, actually that's a good point because we have to survive, right, as like an animal. So, but actually no, because think of like people who commit suicide. There are things scarier than death to them.
Fair enough. Pain. Oh, but there's people who love pain as well.
Yeah, exactly. So I watched a YouTube video called "What is the Scariest Thing?" It's part of the series that I really love. It's YouTube originals. It's called Minefield. It's so good. Yeah, so we have like innate aversions, which are things that we are sort of programmed to be afraid of. There are there are 8 things. So the first is pain. You've talked about it. The second is isolation, because human is like a social animal. The third is the unknown or abnormality. And the fourth is disease. The fifth is sudden movement. The sixth is suffocation. The seventh is falling. And the eighth is incapacitation. And all of these innate aversions are tied to death. And there are some research that found out that if you mix like these innate aversions, it will create something that have a more strong or powerful effect than death itself. And like these concept is used by movies or theater industries like to create the ultimate scary villain.
Oh, I see. They also used in like torturing, right?
Probably. And but there is another problem, because the sort of like the fear control center of our brains are called amygdalas. But some people have like problem with this particular amygdala, so they will not fear like anything, or they will not feel pain.
Oh, interesting.
So it's not universally sort of scary for them. And but actually pain is good for you because it prevents you from further like injure yourself, like
Yeah.
it's good evolutionarily. And so if you want to find out more about this topic, I'll leave the link down below. But well, spoiler alert, it's the increased amount of CO2 in your blood that will scare every single person in this world.
Oh,
Your brain will like panic.
I see. Actually, there's a torture method that tries to include all of these 8 things. I don't know what it is called, but it is claimed that it's used by the Russians. Again, you take all the blame.
Again.
Yeah, it's like you put a person inside a white room, and then after that you took them waterboarding, and then you try to do a lot of sorts of things to them in a course of 8 days or 9 days, I'm not sure. But it might be just a myth, because I'm pretty sure that extreme things are like myths. Reality is probably disappointing, like all those other creatures that's named after mythical creatures.
I hope that reality is more disappointing though, because if it's real, then the world is a dangerous or scary place.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so, but it would be cool to see a real dragon, not a Komodo dragon.
Oh no, I mean like the Russian torture part.
Oh, yeah, okay. Oh, do you know what a waterboarding is?
No.
It's a method that you try to suffocate one person by water. So you might put a towel or something on the person's face, and then you pour water on it. Their other torso or their limbs are tied, and you poured water on their face. So this sounds like, okay, I mean, you shouldn't try it at home. It's very, very bad, because even though you can find all the materials in your house, you're not supposed to try that, because a lot of people died from that method. It's actually worse than suffocating from water itself.
Speaking about water, I am so furious about this particular fairy tale folklore. I don't know, Little Mermaid. I don't know what to say about it. It's so unrealistic and so bad. Like, genuinely so bad.
Why? It's the story of a girl who wants to discover a new world. I'm pretty sure that all of us harbors a part of Little Mermaid. Like, we want to discover that new world that we never found out before, and then maybe the reality is more disappointing than it is supposed to be.
Well, that part is nice, but other than that, it's so bad. Like, do you know, like, the original story's ending?
Oh yeah, that is very depressing. You're like,
Yeah. So, spoiler alert again. So, so the prince didn't fall in love with the little mermaid and she turned into a sea foam, sort of. So, I just read the original story and she sort of turned into a quote unquote heir daughter, and like it's an eternal, not eternal, it's like she has to live for 3 more hundred years before she can get a soul. So not only like did the objective of winning the prince's heart for his love, of course she also needs to like get a soul because she wants to become a true human, because a mermaid in the story doesn't have a soul.
oh, that's, if this story is told in modern day, you can call it a little bit racist towards mermaids, right? Why do you think mermaids can have souls? Huh? Mermaids feel too. But I mean, if we define soul by feeling love, which all fairy tales like to define it, then why can't Little Mermaid have soul? She fell in love with the prince. It's fair and square, you know. What is soul? Extra organs? You need to wait.
But like they say that she will get a soul after she is married to him. Like marriage will give you soul.
Or maybe the soul is in the ring. Sort of like the Lord of the Rings story, Lord of the Ring lore. This is out of topic now.
And from like the evolution standpoint, she would probably be blind because the book state very clearly that she lives in like a very deep sea and everything is like pitch black. So there's no point in like giving her the vision, you know.
She would be fluorescent as well, as I see other creature in deep sea.
Like the angler fish.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like the scary looking fish with the rod like antenna.
Yeah, but if you speak of undersea, I'm gonna be excited because I really love stories about deep sea. So you know that creatures underwater, they have a lot of optical illusions that they can create it. So there's a fish, I don't remember its names, but there's a fish that if you look at it from underneath, you won't see it. It will be invisible. But if you look at the side, it will be visible.
Oh, that's so cool.
Because the light from above, it looks exactly like its lower torso. It's very scary. It's very fascinating as well. So I think the Little Mermaid will be really cool, but it won't exactly look like a mermaid that we imagined. It will look really scary. Most of the things undersea.
Yeah. So, she'll be blind and probably have some trouble with like hearing because it's different. I read that it's different, like for us to hear underwater, like water, the sound wave in when we are in the water, it will like travel right to our skull, not even through our earlobe, because we are made of like mostly water. So our flesh and the water are typically sort of the same. So it will like get into your skull directly. But in the air, it's different because it has to travel through your flesh before. So I'm not sure if like she will have some trouble getting the signal.
Interesting. And also another part is that Little Mermaid lives undersea, right? If we saw the movie, you see her fishing for old treasures, like old forks, that sort of stuff. So I think she will not be living in an area called coral reef, which is pretty. There's a lot of there's a lot of coral, there's a lot of small fishes, there's a lot of sharks. She won't be living there. She will be living in the abyssal zone, or lower than that, which means she will be feeding from corpse mostly, and also a small
that's so grim.
living creature flakes.
That's so grim. But in the story, like in the original story, I find it quite funny that, well, the sea king like rules the sea, right? The people is the fish, the oysters and everything, and the castle is made from like coral and seashells. So basically, like if it were like human king, it would be like using your people's clothes to make your castle.
Yeah, it's weird. And also in a lot of movies and art depiction of mermaids, I saw mermaids eating fish. Isn't that like, sort of cannibalism? Oh,
Sort of like the Lion King,
oh,
right?
yeah,
Because they need to feast on their people, but the movie never showed that part.
yeah, true. Why? But Simba's only eat bugs. Simba is a veggie king. No, no, not veggie, but like
Okay.
time.
Yeah, Simba is the exception.
Virtuous king who do not eat his people.
Oh, another thing that I'm so furious about Little Mermaid is that, well, she's pretty, but she couldn't speak. Like when she turned into a sort of human, and she could walk, and so the sea witch gave her the ability to walk and dance, like more beautiful than anyone could ever dance or walk. So she was basically majestic, beautiful, couldn't speak, and the prince literally like so the storyline was that the prince sort of loved her, sort of, and then like they stayed together for a bit, and then the prince's parents told him that he has to marry a princess from another town, another city, and so he had to meet his future bride. But before he had to like depart, he told the Little Mermaid that he's not going to marry that woman and he's going to marry her, my dumb child. He literally called her my dumb child.
Just because she can't speak.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that she's dumb, right? That she can't speak. Like, oh, and he saw her as a child.
That's wrong in many different levels. That if you want to marry somebody you saw as a child, but you know it's a very old tale, and you know we sort of let it go. We sort of let most of the original Grimm stories and Hans Christian Andersen stories original version go because it's so dark. Like
Yeah.
it is supposed to be kid friendly because it's called Tales, right? But it is. I don't know what kids those days consume. So,
Yeah, it's next level.
but actually, it's pretty realistic though. I mean, if you saw a person who can walk, can dance, can do everything but speak, and she definitely can't write too, right? Because why can't she? She hasn't learned.
Yeah.
Yeah, you probably.
She has no education.
You probably think she's dumb. You probably think she's a child. And you probably want to marry her because she's pretty, but when other better options come.
Yeah. It's a whole different story. But I think that the prince treat her more like a pet than like the actual lover. And that's sad.
That is sad, but that is what's really going to happen if such stories happen. So that's why I think that the original version of most of this story, they try to give you a realistic, dark, twisted reality theme, which like you can compare it to the equivalent of like women who have no, women who have no education and plan to like marry a richer man, and that's exactly what they would do. They will leave her for better options, and she'll become children of the air.
So education is important, women. Don't give up
Like
and go to school.
yeah, it's important to everyone, and I always feel like it's wrong when I heard somebody say it's like, no, I'm not getting married. What I want to be in the future is I want to be a wife of a rich man. I always feel very wrong when I hear that sort of stuff. Like, don't.
Yeah, that's very wrong.
I mean, I know that they're joking, but behind every joke, there's like sort of very sad reality behind every joke.
Like, I've heard another person, like, I'm not sure if that's my friend's word or not, but she said that, no, you know whose is more, like, powerful than the prime minister or the president? the wife of the prime minister and the wife of the president.
No, very wrong. Take Trump, for example.
Oh,
Yeah, case in point.
That person is wrong then.
Like, completely wrong. Like, why? No, I mean, no. Actually, no. We like to think that women have control over her husband because that is the case with most of common households, right? When there's no power dynamic like that. But in fact, no. If your husband is way richer than you, why would he give you such power? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, marriage doesn't mean that you have to split, like, really split 50-50, right?
Yeah, that's why you should get a prenup in case you divorce. Okay, so this is very out of mythical creatures theme, but I think it's very important to acknowledge that these issues exist, right?
True.
Mythical creature. We decided to go on to another grim story. Oh, Christian Andersen? Not really sure. But also I want to talk about fairies. Like,
Fairies.
if you have a human creature, which is really small, means the brain needs to be very small as well. So I think a fairy will be very, very dumb. Because their brain is very small. I know that brain is not relative to the smartness of a creature. But if a creature has a brain size of an insect, size of a fly, it'll be very, very, very hard for it to be that clever. Very hard to flirt with Peter Pan.
And I think that it will be like impossible because this is another reason why Ultraman, like the OG person or the Ant-Man, to be more relevant to you. So you can like shrink or you can increase your size. That will be like sort of impossible because of the law of cubic and volume. So your volume increased much faster than your surface area. So if you were to get like if you were to become like a giant, like instantly you will like you will feel like very hot and you will like burn to death sort of. And if you were to shrink very small, like so small, you will freeze to death.
Oh, I see. But you know, I think that if we invented a suit that can keep track,
The temperature
Yeah.
and whatever.
it might be possible. But also, but like, if it's the fairies' case, I mean, it is very likely that they can probably fly if they have wings larger than themselves. Because they are very small, right? The wings really large.
Sure. But like they are pretty easy to like get rid of. You can use like leaf blowers and
You can slap them.
I don't know. Like mosquito?
Yeah, but it will look gross. Oh yeah, don't talk about it. Yeah.
But do you think they will have like magical powers?
Like which? Like spraying green stuff in the sky? Spraying sprinkles? Spraying, sparkle stuff? Confetti? Yeah, maybe they can do that.
don't
Human
know.
invent confetti, so can fairy.
But what's the point of like from an evolution standpoint, what is the point to create like such a small and weird
Glistening stuff.
creature?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe human do it for fun. But I think you'll face a lot of moral obligations that you need to get rid of these abominations because it's wrong to trap a consciousness in a very small body that is not suitable for its living.
That sounds like a Black Mirror episode.
Yeah, the point is, I think that at some point of time, people would modify things like a lot of things, like tons of things, and then we'll face a moral obligations that okay, you need to quit doing these stuff because it's wrong, okay? And humans are always like this. We're always like do it first and prevent it later. And there will also be people who buy the laws and people who don't, and sell creatures like this in black market. Create a circus of it in black markets. like trafficking these animals and constantly need to get that out.
Okay. Oh, I have like a fun fact. I just watched like the a video about like the director of a film called Knives Out, and he basically broke every bit of the scene in the entire movie. It was quite good, and there was a fact that he talked about. So like this movie used an iPhone as a prop for one character, and he actually spilled that well, like there is like a policy from Apple to like the film industries that if you want to use iPhone as a prop, you can, but no villains are allowed to use the iPhone.
What? So villains hold other.
Yeah. So if you are like looking at some detective film, it might give away like this is not a villain for sure if that person is using an iPhone.
Why do you tell me that? Why, please?
Maybe just to look out for it.
Because I'm watching Sherlock. Oh my god.
Oh no, but Sherlock doesn't use iPhone though. I don't think. Like, it's sort of like the present, but also not the present.
I see. They're sort of like texting all the time, but they doesn't show. They don't show which phone they use. But I mean, it would be a very good promotion if a villain as cool as the Joker or legendary villain use iPhone. It would be a very good promotion. I mean, everybody loves the villains more than the protagonists, in most of franchise movies.
That's true, but I get it why Apple doesn't want like movies to like villains to use the iPhone. It might give them bad reputation. I don't know.
They definitely don't want Lex Luthor to use iPhones because they will resemble too much of reality.
Yeah.
After all, we've talked about mythical creature and about non-mythical stuff as well. I would like to conclude one thing, that more than often reality is not what it's supposed to look like. It is more dark, more grim, more disappointing. But what keeps us going on is, hope, I guess.
Yeah.
Also critical thinking.
The last thing left in the Pandora box is hope.
So, even though reality is often disappointing, I think we should carry on hoping and wishing for the better, because the pursuit of the best doesn't create the best, but is the best itself. Oh.
And Billy, and don't forget that you're not alone, and education is important to you. So go to school. Yeah,
go to school, and don't hope that you'll marry some rich person. No matter you're a guy or a girl, don't hope that you're gonna get married to a rich person in order to, elevate your social status.
Definitely be independent.
Yeah, get your own job. Get a prenup as well if you in case got married to a rich person in order to get I don't think they will allow you to do a prenup. If they are rich and smart, they won't allow you to do a fair prenup. Okay?
True.
Legal stuff.
So, get a prenup.
Yeah, in conclusion, get a prenup. And, yeah, well, do you have any question that can leave our followers to, think about a little bit after the episode?
Maybe you can share what will be, the scariest monster for you?
Yeah, it can be abstract as well. But don't answer us just shortly.
Like the concept.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. It's all Let's Talk Stupid. And you can email us your answer at letstalkstupid.stupid@gmail.com.
Okay, and also next week we won't be uploading. And in case you wonder why this episode is very long, yeah, we won't be uploading next week because we have some extra lessons that we need to do in that specific day, but we will be uploading in the week after, and we will also have a guest, right, in our next episode in next week.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so as well. And I'm sorry if the sound quality of mine is quite poor this episode. I'll try to fix it in other episode as soon as possible. So thank you for listening, guys, and we'll see you again when the time is right. Bye.
Bye bye.